Today in the Nerdy Gritty, Wizards of the Coast recently announced a Dungeons & Dragons themed Magic set to release soon. What other crossovers do we think they should utilize?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. World that makes a man insane. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm mythic legendary creature Fox.
I'm common Dez.
Yeah, just a common
Just common Dez.
Llanowar elves Dez.
But I am a mana dork, so although I'm just common,
sure,
people are going to want to use me.
Yeah.
They're going to want to use me. So.
Yeah. So Llanowar elves, if I'm not mistaken, right?
One of them, one of many.
Don't they give you? Yeah,
Llanowar elves, yeah.
I got that right. I remember Magic from all those years ago I played.
Good for you.
Thank you.
It's been a minute since you played, man.
It has been a minute, but no, we'll talk about that later. It's actually time for jokes to kind of leave the podcast for a brief second. As we kind of just pay tribute and say rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman.
Absolutely, man. Heartbreaking.
Shocking.
Yeah.
You know? Just, I don't like the term of like an abbreviated life or anything, because I think everybody gets the time they're given. And,
right.
But it's always sad when somebody as young as Chadwick Boseman,
sooner than we expected.
Right. So what I want to do to pay tribute here is we're not making jokes, but we are going to have a little bit of fun here.
Yeah.
And look back at his career. Chadwick Boseman was known for playing lots of actual real life figures in throughout his career.
What I know him more than Black Panther, I know him for something else.
You do. So, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
I promise you. So I'm just going to give you some Chadwick Boseman trivia. It's going to be questions about the characters, some of the famous characters he's played.
Okay.
And we're going to first start with the Nerdy Griffy segment here.
Yeah.
He played Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, he did.
In the movie 42.
Yep.
In 2013, directed by Brian Helgeland.
Helgrind.
Sure.
The mountain in the Aragon series.
Yes, that's what it is. All right. This is the one you might get on the historical.
Yay.
All right. Okay. So again, these are not questions about Chadwick Boseman.
Right.
They're questions about the character, the actual real life figures that he's played.
Yeah.
How many World Series did Robinson play in his career on the Dodgers?
I don't actually know.
No, you don't. I don't
actually know.
No, we have a friend who might know that.
Oh man,
his name is Cheyenne, and he knows all baseball trivia. All right, look. Here's the thing.
Wait. I'm gonna go with 0.
You going for that trick question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's the opposite. It's 6.
Did he really?
6.
Dang.
Yeah. So he was. I mean, it's not him winning the World Series. It's the team, obviously. But they won one of them out of 6 while he was on the team, and actually his decision to retire was based on him actually striking out him striking out, which led to them losing the 6th one.
Ooh.
Which is unfortunate. And also a good time. Yeah. Anyway, this is really good for me to look at because I just learned some stuff about these historical figures.
Yeah.
He actually went on.
Hey,
he
go
retired.
watch 42. Chadwick Boseman's great in it. He really is. But I genuinely think that Harrison Ford should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that role.
All right.
In his role as Branch Rickey. It's fantastic in that role. Man.
Old school baseball players have the coolest names.
Branch Rickey.
Branch Rickey.
Well, he was a knower, but yeah.
Sure, somebody in the anyway. All right, so that's our first question. We're gonna move on. In 2014, Chadwick Boseman played James Brown in the movie Get On Up.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
He was the hardest working man in soul music, I think, or maybe just the music business.
Worked so hard that he would have to be carried off a stage, but then he would suddenly come back,
miraculously return. I learned about that literally yesterday as I was.
You never heard that?
I don't know really anything about James Brown except for some of
good.
his songs. Anyway, this is Get On Up, directed by Tate Taylor. All right, how many studio albums did James Brown release?
Oh boy,
he was active for a long time.
20.
58.
58
records. That's on the Wikipedia. How many times did he have a single on the Billboard Hot 100?
30.
91.
Not what?
Now,
more than his album.
I think. Well, yeah, you have several singles per album,
but still, that's incredible.
All right, yeah. So he played James Brown, and then in 2017 he played Thurgood Marshall,
I don't know who that is.
The first African American Supreme Court justice.
Oh,
so okay,
cool.
well, there's some trivia that we're just learning right now.
Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall. It was a movie called Marshall. This is 2017, directed by Reginald Hudlin. You didn't even know who he was, so I mean, doubly not going to get this one.
Oh, I'm gonna get it.
All right, I hope so.
What's
Actually, you might based on the context clues. What United States civil rights organization was founded by Thurgood Marshall?
Was the NAACP?
It was. You got the one. You didn't even know who he was, and you got it.
Yay.
He founded the NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is still very active today.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to the other famous real-life figure that he has played.
T'Challa.
Black Panther.
Right,
T'Challa, the king of Wakanda.
Yes, very
Black
real.
Panther. All right, now here's some. We're gonna have a few more questions than we did for the others here. In what series? Sorry, let's start with this. In what year did the character Black Panther debut?
That sounds like a 70s thing to me, so I'm gonna go with 72.
Sorry, 1966.
66.
If I'm not mistaken, he actually debuted before the Black Panthers, the group.
Really?
Their name might have been based on him. He was the very first.
Oh, I always went the other way around.
No,
Interesting.
he was the very first mainstream African American comic book character by like 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in what series did he debut? Generally, you don't get your own title right off the bat.
Wolverine debuted in Hulk.
In the Hulk 181. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Action Comics, Detective
Comics. Or sometimes you have those general Journey into Mystery was Thor.
He debuted in... I'm going to go kind of rando here. And I'm going to say like the Howling Commandos or something like that.
See, that would be interesting. I could see it. They're on a mission in Africa or something.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but it was Fantastic Four.
Oh,
number 52.
Right.
He debuted in the Fantastic Four.
I think the Fantastic Four has a lot of debuts.
Fantastic Four was the big, like a huge flagship title
for a while.
They were the first like original characters for Stan Lee. So yeah, I think he loved them a lot, and so he also
Stan Lee loved all his creations.
He created Black Panther also.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our news items for
Let's
the week.
do that. Hey, you know how we have these like audio logs of things that we talk about, and we can always go back and listen to them?
Sure.
If you guys go back to last week, you'll hear Fox saying that one thing that he appreciates about Marvel over DC is that Marvel doesn't put everything in continuity, that things that they do don't have to be in any sort of like actual continuity. They can just do things random.
They approach their continuity differently.
Right.
Sure.
I'm reading a Gizmodo article title here.
Okay.
Marvel made Fortnite canon, and I have lost my entire mind.
Man, they really put a lot of eggs in the Fortnite basket with this season.
So ridiculous.
It's weird.
To me. So, here's what's going on. There was a crossover between Marvel and Fortnite in which there are just like Marvel skins in Fortnite and Marvel themed
It's not the first time Thanos was in Fortnite.
Right. Yeah. It's, you figure, cool, that stuff's going to be there. Oh no. In the Thor comics, Thor comes into a world of some sort in which there is, it's funny because they say banana character or banana skin ? Because skins of different Fortnite characters, but these are actual people that Thor is interacting with in the comics. So
which comic? Because I get Thor, like I read Thor. It hasn't happened in the Thor series.
So this is a spoiler alert for your Thor series, by the way.
Well,
it's Thor number 4.
Really? I don't even. Okay, all right. Now I'm remembering the context. It must have been one of the worlds that he and Galactus traveled to.
Very possibly. But, with Thor trying to evacuate the world Galactus seeks before them, he can need them. The duo discover a strange rift in space-time that looked eerily like the same rift that shut Fortnite down.
Huh.
When it, let's see, we get to see the ramifications of that discovery play out as Galactus, so utterly compelled by the rift's potent infinite energies, becomes enamored with voring Fortnite.
Yep.
So
wait, okay. So, quick overview of what's happened in the new Thor series. Thor is now King Thor. Odin has passed on the title. He is King Allfather Thor now. Galactus shows up and says, hey, I need your help to stop the Black Winter. It's a comic book thing. Don't worry about it. But I have to eat these 5 planets for the specific energy they give me. And then they go and travel, and lots of other stuff happens. So apparently, one of them that he ate was Fortnite.
And I guess that's the reason for Fortnite Season 2 or Chapter 2 or whatever.
Yeah, this would be like season reboot? Whatever of Chapter 2.
Yeah. So it's saying that Thor doesn't want this to happen, so he flies and finds himself in, Fortnite, has all your favorite Fortnite characters and characters crossed out, and it says skins like Peely the Banana, Jonesy, and furiously Googles Bright Bomber?
Well, I'm going to have to go back and read this issue again because I had no idea.
So in Thor number 4, there is a crossover between Fortnite and Marvel, canonically making that crossover real in Marvel Comics. And I have to say, that's pretty stupid.
Here's the thing, man. Like, sure. But also, I didn't even realize... So, as a non-Fortnite player, I didn't realize it was happening.
Here he is, guys. Coming to the defense.
No, not coming to the defense. What I am saying is that it's just as ridiculous as lots of stuff in comics. Comics are ridiculous.
Comics are ridiculous.
They are.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's like... I'm saying that it rises to the level of a lot of comic book stuff. So, sure. Whatever. Thor overall, the series... okay so far.
I guarantee you if this was DC, Fox would be like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Nah, right now the stupid thing they're doing is that there are 3 Jokers.
The 3 Jokers have been going on for a while.
Series.
Yeah.
There's an official Black Label three Jokers series right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Galactus 4's Fortnite is not the weirdest or worst thing to happen this year, so I'm okay with it. Let's move on, though. GDQ, Summer Games Done Quick took place last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
One of those. And, of course, it was all online. It was basic. Any speedrun you watch is going to be just somebody in their home speedrunning. It still has other people commentating with them and then, like, an announcer. So it's largely the same exact thing. It's just instead of a person in a big group or a big room with a bunch of people watching, it's just somebody in their own home basically streaming it.
Right.
So it was different, and it did reveal kind of having that big community behind watching and cheering, and like it changes the aspect, kind of the atmosphere, but it was still super fun to watch some of these speed runs. But even though it was so different, they raised $2.3 million.
Heck yeah.
For Doctors Without Borders, despite the fact that it was all online, people weren't in person. Most of the money they raise is not like from the people attending anyway. Like I would assume. But $2.3 million, so great job, SGDQ. Other big thing with Games Done Quick is they announced Fleet Fatales, I guess.
Okay.
Fatales. It is a speedrunning event taking place November 15th through the 21st, all female.
Interesting.
Raising money for the Malala Fund, and I'm super pumped for that.
Yeah.
Because, as with... that community does seem to skew heavily toward male, at least the runners. I'm excited for this specific thing, or for this event, because, I don't know, it's just, at the end of the day, it's another opportunity to raise a bunch of money for a charity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Like, you can have all your whatever, it's just women, whatever. Okay, they're still going to raise a bunch of money for a charity.
You don't have to support that one then.
Whatever. Yeah, don't. But I'm excited for it. November 15th through the 21st. It's a separate from the other two, and it's still like a week long. I'm really excited for it.
Very cool. Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's our news. That's the news that's going on right now. What have you been up to, Fox?
Actually, a whole bunch this week compared to the previous couple of weeks.
Me too, actually, yeah.
I'll start off with I finished the season 1 of House of Cards. Netflix show, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Look, regardless of all the Kevin Spacey stuff, it wasn't my jam.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's fine. You know how you don't like things that sometimes are like super narcissistic or existential? This isn't like existential. It's very narcissistic. The show does not have any characters that have any redeeming qualities, really.
That was House for me.
Any main characters.
Yep.
Breaking Bad. You had Walter White, terrible monster. From the start doing terrible things.
Right.
But you could say, okay, at the very least, he's doing this so that his family has money after he dies.
Right.
It's not great. He's still doing terrible things.
But you still
and then
have
by the
some
end of the
sort
show,
yeah.
he's just 100% monster.
He's a bad man.
He's bad in every way. With this, for the first season at least, there's not even that little hint of like, oh, well, he's doing it for... It's just like this... He's a bad person, wants power, and will do whatever it takes to get power in Washington.
I watched several movies. 2 of them I'll just rifle through real quick. Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal, which I'll say is actually a super fun adventure movie.
It's like a notch below Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's a perfectly fine action adventure.
It's great. It's way fun. I really enjoy it. Yeah. It's not anything new. It is canned. It is 100% canned adventure movie. Second of all, we watched The Rocketeer, which is another really fun adventure movie. Classic, great film.
Fights the Nazis.
To me, it's ironically meta. So spoilers for The Rocketeer for this 40-year-old movie or whatever. Sure. But it's I guess 30-year-old. Anyway, it's kind of meta in that it is clearly an homage to classic 30s adventure films.
Yeah.
But also the villain in this is an adventure film star. He is a star of adventure films. And so it's pretty funny the way that it does that. But the one I do want to get into is I watched Project Power, the new Netflix movie starring Jamie Foxx and JGL, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I will say that it was fine. It was okay. It was very much...
So a Netflix movie.
Yeah. It was very much trying to take a okay script, a decent script, and spice it up by making it an almost entirely black cast. Like they definitely were trying to. They had a demographic. They did kind of the same thing with Raising Dion, is a show that was there for a while back.
Yeah.
And I think that it just wasn't great. More than anything, it was very cliche and very predictable.
The Empire series
strikes back.
Yep, it struck back. Anyway, Empire was a big.
That's another political one, isn't it?
What?
That's another political one, isn't it?
No, this is a Marvel Comics crossover event called Empire.
I thought it was a TV show.
Empire is about the Empire Records.
That's what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Empire, EMPYRE.
Ah, yes.
Is about, so in the history of Marvel, in Marvel history, there is the Kree and the Skrull. Obviously, they came up in Captain Marvel, the movie. But the Kree and the Skrull are like 50 years old at this point. Their war has just constantly happened. And it's
long ago, the Kree were the good guys and the Skrull were the bad guys.
Kree and the Skrull, and they're basically both bad guys at this point. So essentially what happened is that they formed an alliance with each other under the leadership of Hulkling, one of the lots of stuff I can talk about. Basically, this series is about them forming an alliance to take on the Kotati.
To take on me.
Yes, the Kotati, which are there's a lot of Marvel history you kind of have to know to appreciate
it's
all
comics.
of it. I'm not going to get into it. What I will say about this series is that it's fine. It's another big crossover event. Marvel does them like 3 times a year now, unfortunately, instead of... I wish they did them less often to make them a bigger deal.
So I received Peace Talks, the next Dresden Files book, on Tuesday, and I finished it yesterday.
There you go.
And
3 days.
Yeah,
This is a longer one too, right?
No, so... It was supposed to be like an 850,
and they cut
it in half. There's Peace Talks and Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds releases at the end of this month.
So the Peace Talks fail.
They're still in the midst of them. They're still in the midst of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but kind of. Yeah, anyway, no
Let's
spoilers.
move on.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
What I will say is I have a little bit of an idea of why I have taken Jim Butcher so long to write these books.
Oh.
Clearly, especially if you're somebody who's aware of these things, an editor came in and said, Jim, time to be PC, my friend. Time to update yourself. Time to
stop leaning so hard on these tropes.
Right.
Is a way I would put it.
Absolutely, yes.
One last thing for me.
Right.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 came out today.
Did it really?
Dropped today.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Man.
So I've already beaten the first. I've already beaten Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1.
Of course.
I bought it and set it to download last night before I went to sleep, and then woke up and played for several hours. So you played 1 and 2, obviously.
I mostly played 3.
You played any of the Tony Hawk games?
Tony.
Did you play any of those games?
I'm not much of a surfboarder, so
he's actually a rollerblader.
Man, if you're gonna get a skater mad, rollerblading. That's the way to go. Anyway,
did you play? You played.
I played the crap out of
Okay,
them.
then you played these ones.
Yes.
In a very good way.
Yes, that's what I want. That's all I want to hear.
Game.
That's all I want to hear.
Graphically updated, but not in like a look how photorealistic it looks like. It basically feels like if this game came out today, this is what it would be, and it's perfect.
And that's all we want.
Right, exactly.
That's all we ever wanted.
It is upgraded a little bit in like it gives you lots of different challenges to accomplish. Like, just gives you more reason to keep playing. Like, I played the crap out of all of those games when I was young, because when most people, when they're younger, and love a game, they'll just play it. Like, your kids have played, Luigi's Mansion 16,000 times, right?
Yeah.
I did that too with games. I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1,000,000 times and just tried to do goofy things.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I might do some of that, but also this is just like, hey, there's 40,000 challenges to accomplish, so I'll keep playing it. Like, this is one I'm going to platinum, not because I just want to platinum and get rid of it, but because I love these games.
Fun, yeah.
And want to do all these fun challenges.
This is a reason to keep playing this fun game.
As well as the soundtrack is all the same songs plus more, so it's excellent. Lots of just really great remakes, like kind of the standard for what a remake should be. I think
that's awesome.
I'm hoping it leads to more. In one of the levels, I remember seeing an advertisement for it, like a big billboard for American Wasteland in there, and I'm hoping that maybe that's a subtle reference to maybe they're working on more of them. I hope they do 3 and 4 next, and then do Underground 1 and 2, and then Wasteland. Like, I want all of those back now that they've done such a good job on these. Super great.
How much was it?
$40.
Oh man,
very good price.
Yeah.
For both of those,
for 2 games.
Yeah, two games, and also these games are much more of a platformer than I remember them being.
Oh yeah,
they were like find the secret, find the secret tape. Okay, how do I get up onto this ledge and then wall ride up onto the grind here? And it's like a it's half. I mean, it's not really even a sports game. It's more of, it's kind of, I would describe Tony Hawk as like rhythm platformer
or even puzzle platformer.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That I just didn't really consider it that before, but now I'm like, a lot of the challenges are just trying to get to a spot to find a thing. And I love it. So really great. Highly recommend getting them.
Okay, maybe I'll get it and practice, and then you and I will have our long-awaited show-off.
Sure.
Not show-off, face-off. There we go.
Face-off. There you go.
All right, well, that's all I had.
Me too.
Let's get on to the nitty-gritty then.
Agreed.
Hey, before we do that, if you're hearing this right now, that means that you are listening to a shortened version of our podcast that we just have, our normal version that we put out. We cut the first half, so just before this, it's cut down to a little bit more palatable size. But if you enjoy listening to us talk about the things we've been up to, some of the news that's been going on, things like that, then we suggest you head over to patreon.com/dezandfox and become a patron of ours. At the second tier or higher, you get access to what's called the NerdyGritty Director's Cut. And that is our full episode. You say, 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour or longer that you cut?
Usually at least 20 minutes.
Is cut out of there of a lot of stuff that we talk about. This episode we talk about the Fortnite Marvel crossover. We've talked about books that we've been reading, some comics that Fox been going up, the new Dresden book for me. A lot of cool things that we chat. If you're interested in that, you can go over and head to our Patreon. If you can, that would be awesome. If not, we totally understand, and we know that it's kind of a tough time on financing for everybody. If you're enjoying our podcast, we would really, really love for you to share it, talk to people about it, let other people know that you've been listening, because we don't pay for advertising, it's all word of mouth. So, however you can help us out, we really appreciate your support. Thank you guys for listening, and now let's get down to that actual nerdy-gritty. So recently, Wizards of the Coast announced that they were releasing a Magic set that will coincide with Dungeons & Dragons. So this is the set is called Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Yep, releasing Q3 2021.
So that's next year, so toward the end of next year.
Yeah.
So there has already been crossovers the other way around. Dungeons and Dragons already came out with the guide to
the source book on Ravnica,
and they are just about to release another one on Theros. And so there was already a crossover there. I will also say that in the Rise of Zendikar, there is a new mechanic called a party. And a party is if you how many of wizard, barbarian, bard, there's certain
different creature types.
And there's specifically 5 creature types of 5 D&D classes, and however many people you have in your party, then you get benefits from that.
Here's the problem. Talking about this makes me want to play the game more and buy more cards. They also had, really notably, I think it was at the beginning of this year, they released, or middle of this year, the Godzilla tie-in set.
Yes.
And to be clear, all these Magic sets are like standard black border. They're not like fun goof one-off ones. They work in the actual game.
Right. These are legitimate ones,
legally allowed to be played. So what we want to talk about today is just we kind of came up with some other maybe tie-ins that Wizards of the Coast could use for future Magic sets, or maybe even like Dungeons and Dragons setting guidebooks, set book,
whatever crossovers.
Sure, whatever. I came at it. We kind of had some miscommunication, it seemed.
Right.
I came at it purely from Magic the Gathering, and I think I have some good stuff. And you have some other stuff, but
right, just general crossover from Wizards of the Coast product is what I have.
So yours is all Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah, 100%
mine is
Wizards of the Coast.
What cool things, whatever I could think of.
Oh man, so anything that would be good in Magic is what you have?
Basically.
Oh, I'm excited to talk about this.
Man, I love when this happens on accident, and it happens so often. All right, why don't you start us off?
For two people who professionally teach and speak, we communicate poorly
sometimes, yeah. But it also works out fine.
Wizards of the Coast makes Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Oh,
one of my favorite board games.
Yeah.
I think either in Magic or D&D, a Betrayal at House on the Hill style setting would be incredible.
Haunted house mystery.
Especially in D&D, where you have character sheets of all the characters. So every character in Betrayal on the House of the Hill has stats, base game stats, as well as a short bio for each of them on why they're there and what they're like or whatever else. It's like 2 or 3 sentences, but that can build a brief character background as well as translate that into D&D stats and then make a modern horror setting that has like various endings depending on how the PCs go.
Okay.
So, because that's how Betrayal at House on the Hill works.
Yeah, they could release a bunch of set, like, what are they called? Modules.
Yeah. And then the module could have like, it could be a bigger module, and the first half of the module is 60% of the campaign, and then the second half of the module is the other 40%, but like 10 different versions of that other 40%, depending on how the PCs react to the first part. And that's something that isn't done a lot in D&D, is the kind of like go down any sort of path and different endings to things.
It's like D&D is choose your own adventure, but also not.
Right.
Because generally it's the DM chooses the adventure and forces the PCs.
To me, it's like Last of Us or Uncharted, where
there's the illusion of choice.
There's a linear path, but you can go anywhere you want that linear path.
This room.
It's Arminianism.
There you go. This is a crossover episode with the practical apologist.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there is a preset path in it, and of course players can go off of that, and a good DM should be on his toes how to handle that. But to have an actual, it could be any one of these endings. Nobody knows exactly which ending this is going to be. I think that would be really cool. So I want a Betrayal at House on the Hill D&D setting.
I'd get into that.
All right.
I could see that. Oh, nope. Stop making noise.
Hey, mute your computer,
I'm so sorry.
Fox.
You get to tell
That's
me this
so
for once.
Unprofessional.
All right, the first thing I can remember, I went at this from Magic the Gathering specifically.
Right. And I do have some of those.
The Witcher.
Oh, man.
I think it'd be very easy. Really easy fantasy crossover. You have you have a lot of different fantasy races. You have lots of different creatures. You even have Planeswalker Cirilla. She is literally a dimension like traveling.
She's a planeswalker.
She is literally a planeswalker.
Yes, she is.
So she would be the new planeswalker, Ciri.
It'd be
so easy. And then you have your mythics, of course, like Geralt, the White Wolf.
Right.
You have like the Gold Dragon from that one short story.
Dandelion.
Yeah, sure. And then you have like your rare monsters and your commons. You have like the Scoia'tael faction in the commons and the uncommons, and like this was the easiest one.
Yes, it is.
I mean, part of that is that it's general fantasy.
Right.
It's really easy to do that, but I think there'd be really easy like tie-in specific cards. Unfortunately, they already have Gwent, their own card game system.
Right.
But you could have this tie-in, and also CD Projekt Red I think is pretty they do some like crossover kind of stuff, like like Geralt shows up in Soul Calibur, but I think they want to keep their own stuff too. And it could also obviously be a very easy tabletop RPG because it already is. So like, it already exists, but I think that's the easy one that came to mind immediately. Like I want a Leshen, like you could have all 5 colors very easily represented. Like
absolutely,
you have
yes.
or even like a green-black, your Leshen, your forest, like oh man, there's some really cool stuff that
would be great. I'm already thinking about like, because The Witcher is about Geralt and Ciri and Yennefer and all that stuff, but it's also mostly political intrigue. And I like the rare characters I'm thinking of are like the kings and queens and and like the magicians and wizards and things like that are kind of powering the nation in
you
their
could
own
have
way.
You have sometimes like your each color has its representation of where there's like the sword of feast and famine and stuff like that. Each color has one of the black sun zenith and white sun zenith and all that, and you could have 5 different wizards from the Brotherhood representing each color or something like that. Or
man,
there's so many things that could happen. It'd be very easy.
Make
it and I'll buy those cards even if I don't play the game.
Exactly. One of each, please. My crossover is again in the world of WotC is Star Wars the trading card game. Is they also make, and it's something that is everywhere already. Everybody home makes Star Wars cards. They're not legal, of course. But
that's fair. Yeah.
But bringing a sci-fi fantasy, they've already done a sort of what's the steampunk fantasy with the other place that I can't. I'm blanking on so many names right now. Right, it's where Chandra's from, but they've already done kind of that. I want to see them lean full into this like sci-fi Kaladesh. Thank you. To lean into like a sci-fi part of it, but still high fantasy. Like Star Wars.
As far as I know, they don't have a full-on sci-fi space.
They do not. No, they do have some things like Skull Clamp looks like a very sci-fi type of thing. Sure. And they're all like sci-fi looking things, but Star Wars is sci-fantasy. It is 100% sci-fantasy, and it would fit perfectly into the Magic the Gathering universe.
Yeah. Now, with a lot of these things, kind of the meta of it is trying to make sure that fans feel like that it's within Magic the Gathering. Because I feel like the line that Wizards of the Coast has to walk is not using Magic the Gathering as just another money-making tool, which it is, but you want to keep fans happy and you don't want it to feel like they're just giving it out to anybody who can pay them money and just trying to bring in all the plebes who like Star Wars but don't really know what Magic is, and like so I think Star Wars would work fine. I think that would get a lot of players up on
Magic
arms.
Is a good place for this though, because Magic exists in a world in which there are different universes.
Sure.
And so you can bring in other universes like Godzilla.
Right. Godzilla worked. I think Godzilla worked really well because it was only like 17 different cards that they put in. It wasn't like every card is a Godzilla character or creature. Yeah. And it also is kind of on the periphery of like Godzilla isn't a massive franchise like Star Wars. There's like 3 American movies, and then anyway, not. I think Star Wars would really work though. Something I had to like when I was looking at these was how would they represent all 5 different colors. And I think some of that might be difficult with Star Wars though. You can get some swamp creatures from Dagobah, and All right, yeah, okay, I can see this.
Yeah,
you got Endor. Could. Okay, yeah.
This place is huge.
Yeah, that's
with
fair.
Lore.
It's a
easy.
whole thing.
Wookiees are green.
That's true.
Know,
you got the Wookiees. Okay, yeah, you got me on that one.
Easy, yeah.
All right, so my next one, I thought of was like, okay, well, they went with kaiju, with Godzilla. Obviously, the next one you do is Mecha.
Yeah.
So Pacific Rim, no, not Pacific Rim. Two, not enough to work with. I went with Gundam.
Yeah.
I want Gundam.
Yes.
And I want a Gundam versus Godzilla crossover set, like those like versus decks that you can get.
Oh yeah.
So I want
that'd be awesome.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know anything about Godzilla. It's next on my list of like classic anime to watch after finishing Cowboy Bebop. But I think Gundam would work really well. It's a massive universe. I've been researching it. There are 1.5 million series of Gundam.
Yes.
And they got all kinds of different, and they all different looking mechas and I guess Gundams. But also there's several series that are kind of like about just foot soldiers in the world where these giant robots take place, and it kind of gives you a different perspective. So you could still have like common and uncommon like humans, and just like I think it could really work as kind of a one-off thing.
Well, they've done vehicles, and with Kaladesh they did
That's
vehicles. True. You could have the Gundam as be vehicles, and then you could have humans be the rares and mythics, etc., like that. And then you can say like, somebody is piloting this vehicle, but if this person is piloting, like the person who actually runs that, then there are extra benefits. You
could have a lot of like artifact equipment cards that are like upgrades to your Gundam.
Right.
Here's this cannon and some things like that. So I just, it made sense to me to have a mecha set, and Gundam was the one that made the most sense.
The only tough one for me in that would be, it is like sci-fi hardcore. It is very little fantasy in that. So you'd have to find a way to be able to make mechanics out of science fiction rather than just magic.
At the same time, you could also just put it in here are Gundam on this planet or something, like make its own make its own continuity. I mean, there are other mecha things too, like you could have Voltron, or there's not a lot of like giant robots in that, are there? Or is that they're just Voltron?
Voltron is the main giant robot, depending on what you're talking about.
Sure, look,
if you're going to the original anime, then there's a lot of big monsters.
But you also have like
giant robots.
Zoids. Did you ever watch Zoids, the anime?
No.
Oh, I did when I was younger.
I think that was after my time.
It's Zoids. I loved it. It was like Transformers, but the actual mechs are actually alive.
Yeah.
And so I loved Zoids. So like, there's a lot of options here. I just think a cool mecha set would be fun.
That would be very cool. Yeah. I agree. Wizards of the Coast owns Axis and Allies, the board game, World War II board game. If you guys didn't know, it's kind of like a Civ game, but board game, in which you take on
it's also like a PC. There are video games of it,
but you take on a political power, and you try to either broker peace or to destroy the world and win. To win. I want Axis and Allies D&D version. So you have Waterdeep, you have the Lizard People Kingdom, you have the Elven Kingdoms or whatever else.
Okay.
There are a lot of famous. So like, if I'm just going to go off the top of my head here, in the
Forgotten
Realms, you do have Waterdeep, you do have the Dwarven Kingdom that
Erebor.
No, that's in Lord of the Rings. Dwarven King that Bruenor Battlehammer's from. You have the Drow kingdoms. You have
those ones.
All kinds of things like that. Yeah. So there are plenty of political powers that could be represented.
So you're talking like Warhammer, but the factions are like D&D Forgotten Realms kingdoms.
No, this is a board game. So Warhammer is a miniatures game.
Yeah.
Axis and Allies is a board game.
Right.
It is a straight up board game, like Risk, but even less like minis that you're fighting each other with. So it's more like Civ. It really is more like Civ than anything. But it's something that takes the side of D&D that is not really looked at by the common D&D player, and that's the overarching politics of the world. As a D&D player, you're usually focused on you, one person, and what you are experiencing in this world. very, very individual. But if you could have like this overarching view of the entire world of the politics of D&D, I think it could then help build your modules and your characters and things like that in these worlds. You'd know, like, I played Axis and Allies D&D version. I played the Lords of Waterdeep, Axis and Allies, or whatever else. And it taught me this and that and the other thing about the world of the Forgotten Realms. And now I am this more immersed in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I have never played Axis and Allies, so I don't really know exactly how its mechanics work.
I've never played it either, but I know people who do, and they talk about it a lot.
It could be fairly easy to. It's like how there's a billion different Monopoly games.
Yeah,
essentially the same mechanics with a different skin over it.
Right.
I think
exactly
that could work really well.
Yes.
My last one here, and I was thinking, obviously specifically for Magic, but also I've been thinking about as we're talking how it could work for D&D, and that is Dark Souls.
Oh my gosh!
How could the Dark Souls universe? It could apply to Magic pretty easily. You got your characters. You got your famous, like you got your mythic.
I've already taken your thing, loved it, forgotten about it, and moved on to the Bloodborne setting that I actually want.
Bloodborne could also be in there, I guess, or that could be its own set, sure. But okay, so let's start with Magic the Gathering. I mean, fairly easy. You have lots of creatures. It could be like an Innistrad type. I mean, that would be Bloodborne, really. Innistrad, werewolves.
Yes, very much so, yeah.
Or maybe it's like a Zendikar where you have these massive like creatures. And the hard part, I think, would be instead of just trying to, okay, here are creatures, here are characters that show up. Here's Soleil or whatever. How do you say that? Is that Soleil? Is that who's the Praise the Sun guy?
Solaire.
I think you could have them all show up. It'd be fun. There'd be some jokes about it, whatever. But how do you translate the like brutal difficulty into a mechanic? Because I think without that, it would just kind of be pointless. It'd be kind of like a fan thing. Like, here you go. You like Dark Souls. Here you go. Take it. Like, how do you translate that? And that got me thinking about putting it in Magic the Gathering. And basically creating a hardcore mode, which, here's the thing. You can do that in Magic the Gathering, or in Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons works however you want it to work.
Right.
But it'd be creating a rule set that's basically, everything does so much damage, and if you die,
it's Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors is D&D's Dark Souls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. And I just some kind of but also maybe it's got a respawn mechanic, and you lost all of your gold when you died. All of your, your weapons dropped, or something valuable drops when you die, and you have to get back there and pick it up again, or, you lose it forever. I'd feel like that mechanic could be kind of applied to a tabletop RPG in a way that would be interesting, as well as all the lore and all the settings. Bloodborne, I think, would work really well also.
I was just thinking to myself, you could have a Magic card called Bonfire, in which it says, if you reach 0 health, then return, gain 10 life immediately.
Okay.
And exile all of your lands and Bonfire.
Oh, man.
Then, when you reach the HP that you had before you died, or when you reach a certain amount of HP, or when you do something, return all of that to play.
Okay.
So it's exactly like you have your monetary piece, you've died, lost all your monetary piece, but then you reached a point.
It'd be a big change
and regained
in
it all.
Settings in how you would.
That'd be really cool.
But I think it could work well.
That'd be really cool. I like that. I got my last one here.
Sure. You'll be the last one of the episode.
Wizards of the Coast makes Harry Potter trading card game.
Of course. Okay, here it is.
Which would translate either to D&D or to Magic the Gathering 100% perfectly.
Yeah.
But here's what I want from the D&D side of it. Translate to Magic perfectly. You can have everything there, from your centaurs for green, from your McGonagalls and Dumbledores for white, and it's perfect. It can go in Magic perfectly. D&D. I want D&D target demographic 7 to 12-year-old.
Okay.
And I want it to be the Harry Potter made by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah.
Wizard School module.
My daughter, I kid you not, she just went to a virtual birthday party in which the way it worked was their invitations were the acceptance letter to Hogwarts.
Oh, man.
And Audrey Ray got her acceptance letter from Minerva McGonagall, and it said, be here at this time. And then all parents got emails saying, hey, here's what's really going on. And it was, they were then mailed a box, or sent a box. They just dropped them off at the house. Because again, this is all Zoom, social distancing. They dropped off a box at everybody's house. Inside was a character sheet, a wand, like a little plastic toy wand, and all kinds of cool things. And then they logged on, and the dad of the girl's birthday party. That's exactly what my wife and I said. Like, we want to do this.
I like celebrating birthdays.
What the heck, man? And my daughter loved it. She flipped for this.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, and not only could you just make, D&D did a great job taking the complexity of 3.5 and then evening it out. And I attribute this to Wizards of the Coast, evening it out and making it much simpler to learn, but still being complex with 5th edition.
Yeah.
4th edition, they did it too much. They went too far, and they brought it back with 5th.
Yeah.
And 5th is a great middle ground. They could reel it back a little bit, maybe even to that 4th edition style, but put it in the Harry Potter world. Again, target demographic, 9 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Make it happen. That would be awesome. And you know what? Adults would play the crap out of it.
Oh, yeah. Release that younger set, but also give us a Wizarding World source book. Like,
oh, man.
With all the creatures and all that. Man, I want to fight the Whomping Willow.
For them, again, their quote-unquote campaign, their mission was there were kids in their class being bullied, and they had to find a way to console that kid.
Kill them with magic.
It's exactly what Avada Kedavra. No.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Slytherins were bullying this kid, and they had to find a way to separate this kid from the Slytherins and save him and whatnot, but it was in potions. And so they had to do it behind Snape's back somehow. And so, there was really cool. And they only got through a little bit of it.
So this is when Snape is still the potions teacher.
This is supposed to be year 1, essentially.
All right. Yeah. I need to set this birthday in the universe.
The actual
when was this set in? So we're talking did she wear 1991 clothing or?
This actually I think it was more 85 is when Harry Potter actually went for his first year.
He was 11. Born in the 80s.
Was he?
Yeah, we need to look this up right now.
Okay, hang on.
I think
I'm pretty sure Sorcerer's Stone took place in 85 or something like that.
No, it was 1990. It was when the first book released.
No, I think it was supposed to be before that.
Look it up. This episode has taken a different direction
what year
now.
Did Sorcerer's Stone take place? 91. There you go. Fine.
Your stupid
He was
face.
born in 80 is what it is. So
wait a minute. He just turned 41 then.
He's my age.
40.
Yeah. A little bit older than me.
Huh.
But
all right. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
A little bit late, 2 days late.
Yeah. Harry Potter.
All right. Well, this has been our Harry Potter fan cast.
We could do that. We could do that if we
talk
wanted
about it
to.
for a while, sure.
So
no, we're not going to do that.
Thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you think. Number 1, what setting could come to Magic the Gathering Fox was talking about.
Wizards of the Coast, bring us in. We'll take a very small paycheck, but we'd like a paycheck for this.
Well, very small comparatively to what you could pay people.
No, I'm saying I'm still saying 7 figures.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Small you guys make a lot of money. So
let us know what you think could come to Magic the Gathering really, really well. Also, let us know what Wizards of the Coast properties you think would mix very well on my side of things. And let us know what you think of our ideas. We want to say a big thank you to you guys for listening. Also, thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and some of my neighbors do too, off of the album Dear Sam. It's good music. Go check it out.
We've got a lot on our YouTube channel right now. That's youtube.com/dezandfoxplay. A lot.
We should change it to Fox and Fox and Fox and sometimes Dead
Fox and
Des
sometimes
plays.
Des shows up. Now, I've got a lot posted that will be coming out in the next couple of months. Assassin's Creed and lots of stuff. Ghost of Tsushima starts soon. Right now, though, our playthrough of Spiritfarer is going strong.
I love this game so much.
I love it more than I expected.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying how well they've crafted a variety of different genres into one game.
It could be the most fun I've had playing video games this year.
I'm not going to
say it's the best video game.
I'd say it's in my top 5 for the year of games that I've played.
And we haven't finished it yet because Days Gone was very good until it became not.
Well, games that have come out this year.
No, but I mean, we haven't finished Spiritfarer yet.
You're right.
If it drags on too long or if it changes,
this game feels like you could play it as long as you want to. Essentially.
Man, it's so much fun.
Yeah. we're playing Spiritfarer right now.
Yeah, we are.
That follows our playthrough of Last of Us Part 2 that just ended, which was also really great. And we've got a lot of stuff up on there. So head over to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/dezandfoxplay and check it out.
Thanks again for listening, guys. And always remember that saved games save lives.
See you next week.
My voice sings loud.